Fantastic. Hello, everyone.
Good morning.
Great. So we've got Mark here from Hilditch Guitars, who we'll talk to in a moment. And then there's Scott and myself as normal. And then we've got the live stream with, I can see some people here. From what I can tell, for the next few weeks at least, we're just going to be stuck continuing doing it at this time because it works for me and Scott. And Arran can't really be around for a while. But there'll be some times nearer Christmas or December where he'll be able to join us at this time as well. Yeah, and hopefully he'll be here when we can talk about the Great Guitar Build-Off when all the entries are in and live, because there's only a couple of weeks left. We thought that we'd talk about this Great Guitar Build-Off as always at the end, though, so we can talk to Mark a bit more to start with. And I'm sure that people have got a lot to say after this week. I don't know if you saw, Scott, it seemed to be all market in the Great Guitar Build-Off page on Facebook. It's just all kicking off, lots of people sort of talking about what's been happening and very worried and very excited for new things. It's quite interesting.
I haven't been watching Facebook all that close. I should spend some time there, though.
Well, it's the first time it's been interestingly different, because normally Facebook is just quite similar to seeing Instagram feeds. So maybe just a little bit more chat. But anyway, we'll talk about that later. We've got Mark here. Mark, I was just chatting to him a minute ago. He was part of the Guitar Builders Collective, which is how he found out about today. But I met you a couple of weekends ago now at the London Guitar Show.
It did, yeah. I can't remember the date. It was back end of October, weren't it?
Yeah. Yeah, it's gone quick, the time since.
You're telling me. Can't believe it's nearly Christmas again already.
I definitely want to ask you about shows, because, again, we were just talking off camera about them, because I find it really interesting. I know that a lot of the people watching live in their countries, there don't seem to be many shows, or the shows are spread out, or they're very expensive, especially for a builder to participate in. But we could...
a long ways away.
So what was that? Sorry, Scott?
Or they're a long ways away.
Oh, yeah, of course. In this country, nothing's that far away, really.
There was one in Dallas not too long ago that I had thought about going to, and I totally forgot, but it would have been a 5-hour drive.
Oh, what you? No, I've not quite done that far. I think it was about 3.5 for me to get to London.
That's enough.
Yeah. Right. I know, yeah, well, you do that, and then you got to stand all day like talking to people about guitars, and then pack up and drive home again.
Brutal. Yeah. Sounds like fun, though.
Yeah, I've heard the thing to do is find where everyone's staying and go the night before and just get very drunk and hang out.
Yeah. That means socialising.
Yeah. I'm not used to that. There's the joys of being a guitar builder. You're locked away.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, I'm on my own in my little workshop all day.
So what I thought, Mark, is we could find out a bit about how you got into guitar building stuff, but it might be good for anyone in the chat to put questions in as well, because this might be a good test. If you've not seen Mark's guitars before, I'm sure we're going to have other guests on that we haven't seen before, met before. So it'd be good to have maybe, I think, some questions that are quite common that everyone wants to ask. But anyway, how did you get into guitar building? How long have you been doing it?
So it's a tale. It's a tall tale, that one. So I actually made my first one in school for GCSE. How old was I? 15, something like that. Yeah, but went through a crazy stage, as all kids do. They want something wild, and my favourite guitar at the time was a Warlock, BC Rich Warlock. Yeah, I saw a little smirk there, Scott. So yeah, so I came up with this crazy shit. My mum couldn't convince my mum to buy me one, and I had some old crappy black Strat copy thing, and it fell apart basically. So I was like, oh, okay, here we go. So I came up with the idea then. I was like, I could make myself one for a school project and thus dupe my mum into paying for all these expensive parts because, Mum, it's for school. It's my education. Yeah. And it works. I shouldn't have brought it up really. It's downstairs. It's crap. But anyway, but it works all right, and it still works now. So that was the first one, mate. And then I kind of came away from guitars and sort of live music for a while when I got my license and discovered cars. Became a petrol head for years. Had a family young and whatnot, and then it was when was it now? Maybe about 8 years or so ago that I when got my old guitars back out of the loft for whatever reason and started playing it, and then just got back into music from there. So I had to go making another one just when I was off over Christmas break. It was also terrible, but slightly less terrible than the previous one. But it was made out of sapele and it was massive and it was like carrying a table around. So that's it just kind of got shelved. And then when I started doing it properly, so I did a few little bits, little switch replacements, electrical replacements, things like that for people on the side. And then I got into it properly about 4 years ago. I got a new job making furniture, quite high-end stuff. And that was a massive change because I was selling bathrooms before that. But I've always had this sort of undercurrent of being interested in woodworking, like from being a kid and putting things together, always playing with Lego and Meccano, things like that. So I've always had that sort of hands-on. So I just woke up one day, I was like, I fancy, career change, go do something with wood. So got a job in this furniture place, somehow. Started on the machines initially and then moved up onto the benches. So whilst I was there, I thought, I'll have a go at making guitars properly, though. I had all sort of these clever blokes there that, I could pick their brains off for the sort of fine woodworking aspect.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, it was good.
They're actually woodworkers, not necessarily guitar builders.
Exactly, yeah. So because obviously the furniture that they were making, it was high-end bespoke stuff, literally for rich and famous people. This is a story I always like to tell people. This one, the last job I did there, because it was when COVID happened. We went off on furlough, and I got a new job. I never went back to it. But the last job I did was actually making furniture for Wayne Rooney's kids' playroom.
Oh wow!
Yeah, that was the last job I did.
Wayne Rooney.
Yeah, he's a famous footballer, soccer player. But yeah, so and that's the kind of clients that they had because they got into all these the interior designers that do all the same sort of in the same clicks, as it were. So, but yeah, it was good to pick the brains of the bench joiner guys that were really good at the fine furniture and that sort of the fine woodworking, and then sort of marry that up with my knowledge of guitars, and bring them both together, and then you just start experimenting, having fun. It was nice having all the industrial scale equipment there as well.
So were you using some of that equipment then?
Yeah, well, yeah. So you're allowed to use, as long as it was obviously when you clocked off, stay behind in your own time, and you're welcome to use it. So that chessboard one there, actually, that was one of the first. I think that was number 2. I've stamped that up, serial number 2. And it was one of the lads in the machine shop said, "Why don't you do a chessboard?" I was like, "Yeah, that sounds cool." So it's all solid. That I've actually, I've brought some up. Look, prepared.
Oh, yeah. Excellent. Yeah, I wasn't sure, so I thought I'd bet just drop something on the screen.
Yeah, so it's all solid, like. Yeah, but yeah, it was nice to have the industrial scale equipment that the guys are using there. I think the thing I missed the most actually is the thickness sander. It was huge. You could get a set of gates through it. It was that big, but it could go down to like 0.1 of a mil.
I'm just being nosy on your Instagram. So is this your home setup that you have, or your workshop, not at the...
It is, yeah. It's my new one. So I've been working out of a drafty, damp, horrible concrete prefab garage in my garden for a few years. And then I got the opportunity to get this. It's a proper log cabin. And I got it for nothing, actually. It was a mate of mine who's also a customer, and he retired last year. And I'd done some work for him when he picked his guitar up. We were talking about my horrible concrete dingy shed that I was working in, and he says, well, I'm retiring and I'll have this available very soon if you want it. I was like, right, sounds good. How much? No, he says you can have it.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah. Says, right, and I'll just find somewhere to put it. Because it's too big for my garden. So it's gone in my mum's garden, actually.
And I assume that's semi-local to you, so you don't have too far.
It is. Yeah, it's literally 2 minutes away.
Oh, brilliant.
So, I know, yeah. Nice, easy drive. Yeah, so, yeah.
And so that means a transition to mainly handworking? Because when you talk about machines, you weren't talking about CNC then, you were talking about...
I'm not talking about CNC. No, I mean like planer, thicknesser.
Right.
Things like that, which was all just a big industrial scale, because obviously you can get your stuff now, your little benchtop versions, and it was a bit of a shock really for me, because I come from 20-30 grand machines down to a few £100 all in one job that I had to use. I was like, oh god. And you see obviously a massive difference in quality of what comes out the other end of the machine, basically, and then you have to learn to deal with those other things. But you just get by, don't you? Nothing a bit of hand playing can't sort out.
I didn't have the advantage of starting with that kind of equipment, but I know when I started off, super cheap equipment kind of drove how things got done.
Yes.
I had a tiny bandsaw that couldn't cut a whole neck blank, so I cut my stripes and then did my laminates that way, and made necks that way for a little while, but it wasn't the best situation. But I think when you have to deal with low end or limited equipment, it kind of helps you come up a little better, a little more solid, well-rounded.
Yeah, you sort of find a workaround, don't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny. We were talking about using cheap tools and upgrading to better tools, but none of us, I don't think any of us have started with 30 grand tools.
It was a bit of a shock, really. when I shopped around, I spent about £300 on a benchtop planer thicknesser, and I was like, what is this? Why is he not doing what the other one did? What's going on? How do people work like that?
Right.
But yeah, like I say, you just got to adapt and overcome, aren't you? But it does sort of, I don't know. It probably helps develop your skills a bit more, really, because then you've got to manually overcome that. Like I said, I ended up the one I had sniped horrendously. No matter what I did, nothing I ever did would change it, and it was the way the rollers moved as the timber went in. And it was the same amount. You could get a piece, you could almost draw it. You'd have the same sort of, the starts would be flat, and then it'd just go straight up and then banana down into the middle. So you had this sort of shape that was sniping at both ends. But you could take it out with a number 5 or a number 6 plane. You're just playing it out and get it flat, and that's what I had to do. But with this new space, my workshop, I've got more room, and I've upgraded again now to a cast iron planer thicknesser. Not quite as fancy as my other one, but it helps. It's a lot better.
That is one piece of equipment that is nice to have. I mean, technically, it's not an essential for guitar building, but it kind of is. It sure is nice to have.
Yeah, it just makes it easier, speeds it up, doesn't it? So you can just sort of set a few bodies or neck laminates bits, and you can just machine a run of guitar parts, as it were, at once, because you're getting the sort of accurate, consistent results from the machine, so you know that you can put 3 or 4 through and not worry too much. And it's all going to be the same sort of finish.
Yeah, I definitely think when you're limited to time or you just want to build a lot, tools that speed up the process that are consistently good. It's really worth investing in.
Yeah.
Definitely when I had limited time in my old tiny workshop, I spent so much of my time, because I could only have one sort of benchtop thing out at once, moving it round and setting up, and it was just so time consuming. So moving to a larger workshop changed for me what I could do, because I could just have everything lined up to move across.
Exactly. I was the same. I had a little router table, you know, this big, which way? That way, but like this big, under the bench, benchtop bandsaw, and like you say, you've got these things that, and you have to pack it in a certain way, and then you've got to move everything to get the tool that you want to use, and then it's got to go back under. But now I've got, you know, a big router table just set up in the corner with enough room to get a neck through. I can even, you know, it's in the corner, but I can even get a through neck and route that if I need, because that's how I do my, you know, use my templates. Floor standing bandsaw now, upgraded that with a 200mm throat. And I've got room. I put my bench. I kept my bench. That's probably the only thing I kept. Put it in the middle, but extended it to take my table saw on the end as well. So then the bench is a full run off for anything I put through the table saw. And then I put a miter saw station in that flips. So you just turn it over, the miter saw's fixed underneath. So I've got a flat bench and then flip it over, the miter saw's there. And obviously it's set level with the bench top then. So the base is all level across. So you just cut what I need, flip the saw away. And it's great just having that sort of freedom to have everything out, and you can just move around in a process and follow the steps and not have to, you know, mess around getting things out, putting it away, whatnot. It's all there. Just keep the floor tidy.
I love seeing videos of people with workshops that flip and change like that, and where the tools just appear when you need them, then disappear.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
It's good. The only problem is I find myself not using the miter saw because I've got everything out. I'm just like, I don't want to put. If I'm working on the bench, I was like, could just do with making a nice square cut. And it's, you know, it's like a 10-second cut, and it's like, in the process I'm doing, I've got to pack it all the way. Okay, it's a bit of a bother. I'll just use the bandsaw and sand it. But, you know, if I've got a run of things, a load of stuff that I want to cut, then, you know, it makes sense to get it, you know, flip it out.
Yeah, it's. I have a similar. On my part, it's laziness. I inherited a fair number of tools from my dad, and one of them is a radial arm. That's in earlier videos I used a lot, but in the move, it got a little dinged up, and I need to get things set up, and it's just it's work, and it just sits there collecting shit now. So, you know, I use the bandsaw for whatever, and I really need to get that thing set up though. But a radial arm, his baby was a $10,000 table saw, and the drill press, the pillar drill, were three big nice things that I inherited from him. So otherwise, I wouldn't have much in the way of tools. I bought me a decent bandsaw, a 14-inch. I can't live without that thing.
Yeah, too useful, aren't they, bandsaws? There isn't a lot that you can't do on one, is there? Yeah.
I remember when I bought mine, it's a relatively cheap one. It's by a company called Record Power. So it's not cheap, but it was relatively cheap. But I really looked into one that had a deep throat, so I could make sure I wasn't buying something that would just annoy me straight away by not being able to do things. But then I see people with their massive bandsaws, and I think, I'm envious.
Some big joiners that I get jealous over.
Hey, so we've talked before about what are like good tools for a beginner to first buy in their workshop. What do you think is a good way to start off? I mean, you've talked about your planer thicknesser a lot.
Yeah, I know.
So whenever a conversation about that comes up, always in the chat, there's people wanting one.
Yeah. Because they're so useful. I'd probably say bandsaw, though, to be fair. You know, because I've seen people having to go cutting out necks and bodies with a jigsaw, which is doable, but obviously the blade likes to wander. So you can end up cutting on an angle, you know, without knowing, and your blade will drift underneath. But yeah, I'd say a bandsaw, because even what was mine? Mine was obviously it's only a small benchtop one, but it was still big enough to cut everything I needed really. Body cut a body out fine. I just think yeah, probably the most useful thing really.
Yeah, I think that was one of the first things I got that, and I bought a pillar drill as well.
Yeah.
Which I don't use I use quite a lot now, but I didn't really use as much to start with. I just thought it would help improve the quality of what I was doing by making sure things were absolutely dead straight whenever I was doing.
Perpendicular. Yeah, the pillar drill's great. The only problem I find is that a lot of the bridge post studs are too far away for the reach of the pillar drill that I've got. So one of the most important holes that you want to get perfectly perpendicular, can't reach it anyway. Yeah. Luckily, I'm pretty good at drilling by hand, but I have been looking out for a radial one. Yeah, I just haven't got the pockets for it yet.
So I've got a radial one, and it's okay, but what I notice is sometimes it sort of tilts a bit. So every time I use it, I have to use my set square, make sure it's all perfect, and sometimes I forget, and then I notice it's not quite as good as I want. But maybe that's just, again, down to not buying a really expensive one. I don't know. Or my inability to lock it properly.
Human error. Error.
So I was looking on your Instagram. Your guitars seem to be very varied in the sort of designs you do. And when I saw them as well, I noticed we were talking about finishing when I saw them at the show. Some of them were nitro, some of them were poly.
Yeah.
Is there a reason you just jump around so much? Is it for making people or something else?
Yeah, just because my head's a bit messed up, that's all. I get random ideas at random times and then just follow one through. Just whatever's right. No, a lot of it is sort of custom orders, whatever they like. And I never really say no. If someone says, "Oh, can you do this?" Yeah, I'll have a go. Even if I've not done it before, I can't see why not. I've been doing LED side dots in a fretboard this morning using fibre optic wire, fibre cable or whatever you want to call it. So I've been setting them in because someone asked me, making a neck for a guy, and he asked me about doing it because I've done fret dots on the front with LEDs. And then somebody asked me about the size. So I was like, yeah, can't see why not. So I had a little look around. And same with the finishing, really. I've done crackle because someone asked me, can you do crackle? Well, yeah. The way I look at most things is if it's been done, why can't I do it? You know what I mean? There's a crackle in the middle, yeah. I'm just saying if people have seen it somewhere else and someone's already done it, why? There's no reason I can't do it. That's the way I look at it. Just saying, yeah. Maybe it's overconfidence on my part, I don't know, but I've never really had an issue. That one's that Explorer there actually. There's pearl in the lacquer, so it's purple on the back, and then I did a coat of pearl over the top before I put the clear coat on, and you get a nice sort of metallic shimmer effect on it. And that was nitro.
And then I'll come back to the Halo one in a minute because that's right up my street.
That's
little film. Sorry, I wasn't expecting that. I thought it was gonna be a
no, I haven't. Oh yeah, it's Greg who playing it. So that was the first 7-string and a first multi-scale, so I decided to combine them both and do a 7-string multi-scale, as you do. That's actually poly on the body as well. So finishing's been a big thing for me, the sort of spraying. I can't remember why.
Where do you do your spraying then? Have you got a spray booth or?
I have now. I used to do it in a polythene tent that I made in my shed. Literally made a 2x1 frame that was 1200 by 600. So what's that? 4 foot by 2 foot footprint. and just tall enough for me to stand up in and hang a guitar. And it was just a 2x1 frame wrapped in a polythene sheet, just to try and keep dust off. And then I had a fan blowing in, so it was positive vent, just with a flapper door, so that in theory any dust and overspray got blown out. But I just felt like it was just another process. If I could do that, it takes how is it? It's one less thing that I'd need to rely on somebody else for.
Right.
If that makes sense. And if somebody then came to me and said, "Can you do a crackle finish guitar?" I was like, "Yeah, I can." And then I don't have to sort of send that away to get done. I can do it all in house, and it's just, I don't know, I just find it easier being able to do it all. That makes sense.
Looks awesome.
I was going to say, Scott, I know you were just trying out a new finish as well, the UV Cure stuff.
Yeah.
You weren't a fan of it.
I think it'll be fine if it's something that you're not, worried about sanding through on occasion.
Yeah.
That was a problem I ran into. It just didn't self-level very well, so you would have to put a lot of sanding into getting it, nice and flat. And at least, in early coats, it was easy to sand through. And when you've dyed something, it doesn't take much of a sand through to just absolutely ruin it. So I haven't given up on it. It'll be fine for natural wood,
right,
top or whatever. But yeah, with the dye, it was just trouble.
That's good to know, actually, because I looked at that solar res stuff very briefly.
I do. Well, when I first looked into it, and I forget the details of what I actually got, but the finish was polyester, but they suggested using their I think it was labeled a sanding sealer, so that the polyester would actually, bond to. It mentioned the possible problems with just bare wood or whatever. And the sanding sealer, I do like. I do. It sands real easy. But just like the polyester, it cures in the sun in less than 10 minutes. Yeah, which was pretty awesome. So I will use that quite a bit. But the polyester, that shit is tough. It really is bulletproof. So I still think it'll be great in some situations, just not with the dye. Dye was trouble.
We've all been there. That's the good thing about nitro, isn't it? Just touch it in nice and dead easy. And once you've got it level sanded, if you go through, you just touch that bit in and then just polish that bit, and the jobs are good. And I do like it for that. But I'm into PU at the minute, which is great because it's cured in 3 days, so you can buff it up. You don't have to wait weeks and weeks like nitro.
And you're applying that with a spray gun? Yeah.
I've just put a video on last night actually of me spraying a double neck SG. Oh, that's in poly. Just set a camera up in the corner of a spray booth, watching, filming, doing it. But yeah, proper compressor. Got an air fed mask for the poly. Yeah. It's taking me a while because it's all self-taught, and it's one of the hardest things because pretty much everything I've ever done has been self-taught. But spraying is one of the hardest things to teach yourself because you don't know. It's not obvious where you're going wrong. You just get a crap result and you're just like, why? Then you've got to figure out why you've got that. Obviously, unless you've got someone there teaching you, showing you, and he can tell you why it's happened. But when you're teaching yourself, you're just like, it doesn't make sense, if you know what I mean. Why has it happened?
I think that's probably one of the reasons I don't have a gun. I don't have a booth. It's the one upgrade I need to move to, but without having any exposure to it, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to get. I don't know how to do it. I don't know how to clean it and maintain it.
That's really interesting because I don't see many guitar videos about that. Well, we see
Yeah.
lots of guitar. We keep saying we see lots of people doing fret leveling, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
Something different.
Most of my builds, you never see the finish, because it's hanging in the yard with a rattle can, and that's just embarrassing.
There's so many people doing it though.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't think there's anything wrong with it. Like this last one wound up being a 2K lacquer, but it's a rattle can. I think you just wind up with more orange peel and have more leveling to do, honestly. But I don't know that, because I don't know what kind of material people with a better setup will spray. I don't know if it's better quality, if it has more durability. This last one, since it's a commission for a teenager, my thought was durability is number one.
Yeah.
This needs to be encased in Teflon, but yeah. Finish is definitely my weak.
Well, I was going to say, you probably overthinking it a little bit. I've seen people get great results with a rattle can. I think the advantage of spraying is cost, first and foremost.
That too.
People over here sell out 400ml rattle can of nitro, and I don't know what the sort of imperial, what a US equivalent would be, but I don't know, it's not quite a pint, if you know what I mean. And they're, what are they, like 15 quid?
Yeah, 15 to 20.
Kind of that. Yeah, where I can get 5 litres of nitro for about 25, 30 quid.
You see, I had the opposite. I used to use an air gun, compressor with a big air gun. I didn't have a great space to do it in, though. But I used to use it, and at the time when I was doing it, I could only buy the finishes I wanted in big quantities, and it just kept getting wasted. So I moved to spray cans because I had a smaller space. It was easier to use, and I wasn't wasting as much paint. But now I'm definitely going to move back. I've got to set something up, though, to using the gun, because I'm just constantly buying cans, and I'm getting through so much because I've got more work on, which is great. So I've got to go more efficient cost-wise and better finish.
Yeah. See, what I do, I tint. I bought a range of tints. And I tint a lot of my own. So got clear finishes, clear base coats, and just tint to the colour that I need.
I've also noticed so many places now sell it in smaller quantities. When I did it, like, I think it was just over 10 years ago, I could only buy big quantities. It might have been that I was looking in the wrong places, but I was buying massive tins. Ridiculous.
Well, if you find, I know there's a place not too far from me that I've recently discovered. I've not actually been there yet, but you can get colours mixed, and I think you can get down to like a litre.
That's amazing, yeah.
Paint, yeah, which isn't as bad as 5 litres, obviously, but it's probably still works out a little cheaper to do it that way if you set up for it. But then obviously you got the expense of setting all the equipment up as well.
Yeah.
Compressors and gun and everything. I dread to think how much I spent. I bought a new compressor when I got the new workshop set up. I bought a new compressor solely for running an air-fed mask for spraying the 2K. I think that was the best part of 500 quid.
Wow, yeah.
Just for the compressor. So I don't really dread to think what I've actually spent on the full setup, but
I do have a compressor.
Sorry?
I do have a compressor. I've got a relatively small one, and then I've got a big one that I inherited from Dad. But it was always around for nail guns and things like that. I do have the compressor. I just all the pieces I need.
Well, I was fortunate enough when I got this new workshop, came with an internal wall as well. The guy had it as a toilet and a kitchen on the end, so I was like, yeah, that's great, because then that can be my spray booth, which was the toilet, and then the kitchen area, I just put a bench in for setups and the relatively clean stuff, so it keeps the dust away. So it's worked out great then. Like, as soon as I saw it, I walked in, I was like, oh yes, here we go. So then I was planning out the whole spray booth then ever since that.
See, I would have seen that and thought, I live here now.
Yeah. That was the second thought. My first thought was a spray booth. My second thought was moving out. I was like,
You'd have to
I'll
sleep
take spray
with a dust mask, but you know.
But yeah, so, but it's, I think it's good because then it sort of opens up other stuff. So there's I've done a purple metal flake for finish for a guy. You just, I don't know, just a bit more variation of nothing's impossible sort of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess if you're mixing it yourself like that, I'm just trying to find your purple metal flake to share. There it is.
In this year somewhere. Yeah, that's it.
Wow.
And again, is that one you've mixed yourself then?
Yeah. So all that is, you can get the metal flake in the colour you want and just drop it in your clear coat or your base coat.
Yeah,
I use the clear coat, but you can use it in base coat and then clear over it. But yeah.
Awesome.
Next time I'll do it in the base coat because you've got to put more product on to sort of level it out before you can sand it then. That's the downside. Because if you sand through, you just end up with silver bits where it takes the colour off. So
I saw a really great finish where they put it in the base coat, but not much flake. And then they put clear on with some in, and then more clear on. And as the layers had built up, it kind of, because it was so thick, it looked quite three-dimensional the way they'd done it.
Yeah, that's cool. I've seen them do it with different size flake as well.
Oh, that's a cool idea, yeah.
Yeah, so, yeah, that's pretty cool, that. Then you can start with the bigger one, and then use a thinner one, which will sort of fill in some of the gaps, as it were, and then you get, different effects again. But, yeah.
Earlier on, Music Therapy Laz said in the chat, have any of us used enamel to paint guitar? It's not something I've used.
No, not for me. No, because I just kind of went straight forward. I did a bit of looking around, I was like, what are people spraying with? I mean, in theory, you could use anything. It's just wood in it. There's nothing really guitar about it, if you know what I mean. Just any finish. You could even use automotive things. So I got an account with one of the suppliers that the furniture place where I used to work, they used. So I suppose really that was the only place I was exposed to, on a sort of trade basis. So that's the name that stuck in my mind from that. So I just went and got an account with them, and they only do wood finishes, but they do the full range. They got nitro, and then polyester, polyurethane, acrylic stuff, acid cap, all that stuff. They do everything. But I just spoke to their rep once I got the account set up. The rep came round, and I just basically took his recommendation.
I think that's where I went wrong, because I was trying to buy the finishes I was using in bulk from furniture suppliers, and I think if you go for certain types of finishes from automotive companies, they do smaller supplies of it. That's what I've noticed recently.
Yeah, I think generally that's it. Yeah, if you want a certain colour or whatnot, then you can get smaller quantities. Yeah, on the sort of automotive side.
That seems counterintuitive.
Yeah, I think maybe I'm definitely was getting 5 litre cans before. I'm not getting through that. It's a lot of guitars.
It is a lot, considering I still over it when I'm mixing up the 2K. I still over mix, but I know roughly it's about 100 to 150 mils will do 3 coats of a full guitar, including the neck, roughly. And I still always end up wasting some, but I'd rather have some to waste than having to panic. In fact, I had to do that with that SG the other day. Didn't allow for the fact that there's an extra neck and another half a body stuck on the side, mixed up the same amount, and then got I did 2 coats, and I looked, I was like, I'm not getting a 3rd coat out of that. So I had to bin the mix, clean everything down, and make a new mix. But obviously you've got a small window of time to get your poly coats on top, otherwise they don't sort of bond into the same. If it cures too far between coats, it has nothing for the next one to bond to. So not like nitro where it keeps sort of re-wetting it and building up. So you've got a small window. You've got to give enough time for it to gas off, so you don't get solvent pop. But then you've got to be quick enough that it's still tacky, so the next coat bonds to what you've already sprayed. So yeah, I realised after the second coat I wasn't getting the third coat out. So to bin the mix, clean everything down, and make a new mix all within about 10 minutes.
That's too complicated.
It is.
Chemistry is dumb. Oh,
Yeah.
That would have been hard to discover.
It is tricky, but but that's why if you get a nitro job, it makes a nice change, because then you're like, oh, you can be a lot more relaxed about it. You can give it 3 hours between coats if needs be, and it'll just go back on straight over the top.
Yeah.
But it's.
Oh, that sounds tricky.
When I was at college, I studied art, and my tutor, who was a sculptor, his daughter was a ceramicist, and he used to say that they used the same materials a lot of the time, him and his daughter. And the difference was, as a ceramicist, she knew the exact amount she had to measure out to get everything how she wanted it, and he just sort of did it all by eye and sort of went in. And that's definitely my approach, is doing things by eye. So anything that involves precision, I find a little bit, well, I mean, obviously guitar making involves precision, but I mean the mixing side of it all, I get a little bit
Exactly.
I know what you mean. Yeah, I still do now. I get this weird, like when you're a kid and you got to do, like, I don't know, like a school play or whatever, and you get that sort of butterfly feeling in your stomach. I sometimes still even get that when I spray poly now, because I just think, because everything's got to be, the mix has got to be bang on 50-50, too much or too little hardener, and it can be game over. And then you're just always worried, like, oh, if something goes wrong, you touch it or you get a fly in it or anything like that. And it's just, so you can't touch it up afterwards. If anything happens, you've got to let it cure, sand it back and respray it. Whereas I'm a lot more nonchalant with nitro, because you just know if something happens, you just spray it in afterwards, It is what it is.
Bill said, has anyone seen these new paints that are more like a wrap? I'm not really sure what that is. So I haven't. I did try hydro dipping, is in the style where you have a print that you put on the top of the water, and you slightly you activate it so it starts to dissolve, and then you put your guitar in and it adheres to that. And first time I did it, had amazing results. Thought, this is brilliant. And then every time I did it afterwards, I just couldn't get it right, and it just had little tears or crinkles in it, and it was a bit much. I felt uncomfortable using it. It wasn't quite my thing, I think.
Yeah, I don't like the idea of water on wood. That's why I'm not bothered. Loads of people have said it to me. I was like, I don't fancy dipping a guitar in water. And I know it's only like in and out, but it just doesn't mix in my head.
I mean, I was doing it on something that'd been fully painted first, so you've got a little bit of protection from the paint. But yeah,
that's what I mean, because I know that it'd have some sort of base coat or whatever on first, but I still can't get my head around.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, there are certain places that should still be raw, like the neck pocket, and
that's true.
If there's any place that needs to be precision,
oh, me and precision. I've already mentioned that. This is right up my street. Mark.
Very good.
Again, was that something of your own, or was that a was it of your own design, and was that a commission type thing?
No, it was just so there is I can't remember the guys that did it, but someone made an energy sword guitar. I've actually spoke to the guy. He messaged me when I shared this, and it sort of went viral, and he messaged me, and I was chatting to him for a bit. And so my mate saw the post on Facebook of the energy sword and then tagged me in it. And I was like, oh yeah, that's well cool. It's a guy I've been mates with since school, and obviously Halo was our sort of era. And we still play it now. Me and him get together with a bottle of Jack and play Halo all night. I remember when he got his new Xbox and he downloaded it, we did a co-op on the original Halo and completed it in one night.
Wow.
That's not to say we did it fast. That's just to say how long we stayed up playing Halo for. So yeah, we were just talking, and I was like, gravity hammer would make a cool guitar, wouldn't it? Because like the hammerhead would be the body, and then the shaft would be the neck. I was like, yeah, that's a cool idea. So that's how it came about, basically. I was like, yeah, I'll give it a go. And yeah, that was the result.
Awesome.
So got a load of pictures of a grav hammer off Google and made a little, drawing, laid it on.
That's cool. Yeah, that's definitely the sort of thing I'm keen to do. Those sort of weird sci-fi looking things.
Yeah. I think there's probably a market for it if you can tap into it. I've had people message me about Tron as well. They're doing something like a Tron style guitar. Nothing's ever come of it, obviously, but this guy said he's got some ideas. I was like, well, come around whenever, we can discuss it and whatnot. I like stuff like that. I like lights as well. So
yeah, lights are a big annoyance of mine at the moment. I'm trying to find the right thing to put on guitars that doesn't look like lots of LEDs. So I've gone for highly packed cob LED strips that I've got in my workshop. I was just trying before I came up, and even though they're highly packed with diffusers, you can still see individual lights. And I tried EL wire, but that interferes with humbuckers. It just has a sort of fuzz, a sort of static noise that comes through.
Yeah.
But you were trying. You say you're trying fiber optics.
Yeah. I don't know a huge amount, but I believe that you can get a side glow fiber optic as well.
Yeah, but from what I gathered, you needed a big thing at the end of the fiber optic to light it.
Yeah, you do. So on this, it's just for the side dots that I'm doing, and I think it's about 1 mil, the fiber optics I'm using. So they end up with 12. It's a 24 fret guitar, so I've got 12 strands, which should, when you bundle it up into a circle, and I'll sleeve it with some shrink wrap, so it'll hold it together, and then it should sort of darken it as well. But it should, I'm hoping, line up with about a 5 or a 6 mil LED. Should be the same diameter, in theory.
Oh, that's interesting, yeah.
And then should get an even. So my plan is obviously sleeve them onto the LED with heat shrink tube to try and keep all the light directed onto the end of the fiber optics. That's my plan. As you can tell, I'm just saying this to try and sound like I know what I'm on about.
Yeah, because I've not used fiber optic. I wonder how powerful the LED has to be to.
Not very, let me tell you.
Really? Okay.
I've been testing them with the LED on my phone, the torch. Yeah, and it gets very bright. And in fact, some of them, it's got a big window facing my bench, and some of them, if you catch them in the right angle, just daylight, and you can see a big difference.
Oh, right. I'm gonna give that a go then. Give up on these LEDs and give that a go. Thanks for that.
Yeah, I don't. I've just got to try and work out if I can do it for the front of the fretboard.
I was using micro LEDs in side dots recently because they're so tiny and they're super bright, and I think that's what I'm going to use going forward. Because
the advantage of fiber optics, and this is something that I've fallen foul of a couple of times now. If an LED dies, you haven't got to rip it apart. So if you set LEDs,
yes, okay, that makes sense.
Dies, whatever, you got to take your fretboard off to change the LED or whatnot. But with fiber optics, the LED is always going to be in the control cavity, so it's just a case of changing a bulb somewhere accessible. And I've had that that Purple Explorer that has LEDs up the fretboard, and one of them has died on the 12th, which is really annoying. And that Halo one as well, the gravity hammer, that has LEDs, and there's one of them, I think it's around 19. You set this truss rod in a certain position and it goes off, but then if you slacken it off a touch, it comes back on.
Oh.
Obviously, the perfect position that I wanted it in for like the best relief, turned it off.
Wow.
So, but yeah, anyway, and that's the problem. with LEDs, you know, you've got to rip the fretboard off to get to it if you have a problem with one of them. Whereas the fibre optics,
very clever. I
Yeah.
feel like I hope that these chats we have are really helpful for people watching and give people ideas and things. And that has definitely changed what I'm doing, because I've spent quite a long time now trying out all these LED strips to get what I want, and I think that's going to be my way forward as my next step anyway to try. So thanks for that.
cool. Anyways, I've taken some pictures. I'm going to do might do a little write up online. I've started trying to do a few write ups on the fretboard.co.uk, but I've never really been. You know, when you go on forums and they always have that guy who just like everyone knows and seems to know everything, and everybody watches all his build. You know, they read all his build threads and he gets thousands. I've never been that guy, and I've tried to do it, and I don't know. It's like I've just never seen Black Popular, if you know what I mean. But you know, just keep doing it. Someone might read it. But I'll do that. I did it. I put a Marshall MS2 on board a guitar, and I did a write-up of that with loads of pictures and stuff, and that went down quite well. Sounds a bag of shit, but, you know, it was a cool idea. The feedback's horrendous. But, you know, it was a fun little concept idea that we did. So, yeah, keep doing these things. So, yeah, I'll like I said, taking the pictures, I'll just do a little write-up on how I've done it with some pictures of how I've laid the fibre optics and stuff like that. So, yeah, keep an eye out. Have a look at that.
Oh, that'd be cool. Yeah, Bill's just said that these podcasts, chats, whatever, live streams give him lots of ideas. He hates us for all of them. I guess it means I have this difficulty definitely where whenever I have a new idea, I want to start it, and that means I don't finish the one that I was just working on, or I buy bits to start it and then never get it started. It's hard to focus sometimes.
Yeah, no, it's the same. I'm the same. And like we said right at the start about all these varied finishes and where the ideas come from, exactly the same thing. You'll see something, whatever, I don't know, walking down the street or something daft, and you're just like, that'd be cool in a guitar. And then, like you say, you've already got 4 on the go that are unfinished that were cool ideas that you saw somewhere. And then you think, well, start another one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a tendency to collect techniques. You want to try something that, okay, this works, that'll be cool on a guitar. And just wind up with this big collection of techniques on, a bunch of unfinished stuff. Because you keep thinking, I'm building this repertoire of, things that will go into the some amazing project, and that project never comes to fruition.
Yeah.
Standard. I've got talking about finishing again. I've still got a bag of chameleon flip paint tin, so like purple green flip paint. I've still got that I've had for about 4 years, maybe 3 years. That I was going to do a purple green flip guitar, and I'm still not getting around to that.
That sounds cool.
So, so it goes.
So what I would like to quickly ask people in the chat, so people watching this like in the future, you could also put this in the comments below, but in the live chat, it'd be great to know if any of you have actually been to a guitar show. And if not, is it just because they're so far away, like Scott was saying earlier? And Mark, it sounds like you've been to quite a few then.
Yeah, I'm a very veritable seasoned pro. Yeah, and when did I do the first one? I think the first one I did was towards the end of 2021, when all the restrictions were lifted. And then did quite a few last year and a few this year. But yeah, I'm just a grumpy, cynical bastard though, so yeah. I don't know. I don't enjoy a lot of them, let's be honest.
I liked what you said to me before. It's hard to know if they're successful or not until 6 months down the line, when you find out if someone wants to buy something because they saw it 6 months ago.
Yeah. That's it. There was a point where I was sort of like a 50-50 success rate of actually selling on the day, and I never go with that sort of mentality. Oh, I'm going to sell something today. You know, it's a cliche. It's a bit of a cliche, but it's just about getting your name out there. You know what I mean? Speak to people, because not everyone's going to like what you do. Not everyone's going to like you. People buy from people, don't they? And if they don't like you and they don't speak to you, they don't have that repertoire, then they just forget about you and move on. So, shows on the moon. So, and I think that's the funny thing, because mine are so sort of varied and unique, I suppose. There's not a lot of people that attend shows that are interested in what I have to offer, basically. If I had a table full of tobacco burst Strats and Les Pauls, then, you know, I'd be inundated and I'd be selling them left, right and centre. But nah, that ain't for me. That's just boring and typical, like. So I want to do something. I want to do crazy crackles and metal flakes.
I've said it a million times. Guitar people are stupid.
Yeah.
So many. It seems like the vast majority of people, if it's not a Telly, a Strat, or a Les Paul, it's not a guitar in their mind somehow.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. No. I'm doing all right.
It's one of the reasons
we should have a compilation, Scott, of how many times you said that.
Yeah.
I think it's true.
If I was rich enough, I think I'd probably buy all black Strats, tobacco Strats. Anything else? I don't know. Yeah, Les Pauls as well. Fuck it. I'd buy them all and just burn them. Do you know what I mean? Just no.
Just buy a company and, you know, change everything.
Yeah.
You get loads of views. You burn them all in a massive pyre on YouTube.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's a bit of a blinkered view from a business point of view, though, because if I did all that stuff, I'd probably sell more. But, you know, I want to have fun. I've never made the same guitar twice, and I never will, because I want to have fun and do something different every time. You know what I mean? Right. And I'm kind of sort of funneling into a metal market, you know, as it were, customers, but they're the ones that have got more interesting ideas. Like, they want to make their own shapes and do wild finishes, and let's have 7 or 8 strings. Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
There's me. I don't want to do boring junk that everybody else has already done. I don't want to make copies. I want to try new things and, you know, have fun. But I've never gone at this, you know, with the expectation of making money either. It's fun for me. It's my, you know, therapy and my fun. It's just a hobby, and I want to keep it that way.
Yeah. I'm not making money. Don't get me wrong. I do it as a full-time job, and I'm just about paying the mortgage, but I'm not making money. But I'm having fun, so fuck it.
Yep,
it's great you're doing it as a full-time, though. I definitely so I moved from a job that was in the art charity sector that never made much money to a guitar job which also doesn't make much money, and I'm not really sure it's viable, but yeah, you want to do what you want to do. And you're right, well, that guitar show definitely showed me that people want Tellys and Strats. It was interesting because you had the floor we were on was a lot of boutique builders, and then the floor below had a lot of more like shops selling things. But there's definitely people go to what they like and they know and feel comfortable with. And
I know what I like and I like what I know.
Yeah. It's just interesting when you walk around the boutique things how unique and different everyone is. But then you still get some that do the boutique telly shape or whatever. But it's just I think people are missing out on so much because it's not a big name. Yeah,
that's it.
See, I want to get my hands on some decent telly electronics and then build something that looks fucking nothing like a telly and call it my telly.
Yeah.
And prove that it's the electronics that give it the iconic sound and not that stupid slab of shit with a neck bolted to it. I hate Fender just for the construction method. It's just, a flat slab of crap, and bolt on. It's just, I understand why they did it from a manufacturing standpoint. It's, relatively cheap to make and, pump units out the door. I get it. But I don't think it makes, the best guitar.
No.
Also, would it be really odd if the first electric guitar that was mass produced happened to be the best design for an electric guitar, and it couldn't evolve better than that?
I'd say ask 80% of the guitarist population, they'll say yes.
Yeah.
Exactly. They'll say Strat.
Yeah, exactly. And I'll just say, move on. Find someone else.
It did hit some, some key design aspects that are important. And I've talked about this on video before, with a longer, top horn, you have a better balance and less neck dive, the belly carve. Some of those things are, important features, but the perfect design, I don't know.
No.
Nah.
No.
But I think we have to realize that most of the world like to be like most of the world. They want to have what other people have got.
Yeah.
Which is strange. I've always liked to be different, so.
You'd think musicians, performers particularly, would want that, wouldn't you?
Bassists seem to be a lot more open to variation and weirdness, and I don't get that. I don't understand. 6-string dipshits that think you have to have the same thing that somebody was playing in the 70s.
Yeah. Yeah. Vintage guitars, they're not good because they're good. It's all they had at the time. They had nothing better. That's why.
It doesn't matter that Jimmy Page, played it. That's he'd be playing something different if, he was coming up now.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's the best they had at the time, and it's shit by today's comparison. So,
but I can't remember exactly, but I think this is right. Before Kurt Cobain sort of started playing the Jazz Stang, the Mustangs, and things like that, they were really cheap because people didn't want them. Either they were cheap because people didn't want them, or they were budget guitars. But then suddenly they became the guitar that famous people were playing, and their prices all went up. Yeah. And they're the same guitar.
Mad, isn't it?
Yeah.
Anyway.
Well, I mean, I guess it's kind of the same thing with boutique builders. They're the ones that are highly successful. Somebody famous, started playing one, and everybody was like, "Ooh, what's that?"
Yeah, that's it, isn't it? Like Iverson, Richard Fortis played one of his recently at Glastonbury, didn't he?
I just seen some thing in the chat. We're not like dissing people that build other guitars. People saying don't diss us if we're building this. But I what I mean is when people are walking around a show, they just sort of focus in on what they know, but they can see that anywhere. They can see that at a guitar shop, and a lot of the interesting things, and sometimes the interesting thing is the choice of wood or the way it's finished, is something you don't get to see every day. And it always surprised me that people weren't playing them as much at the show, I think.
Yeah. I've run into this before where people got booty hurt at me when, I'm talking about my personal preference of, body shapes and stuff. And I don't begrudge anybody for actually building that. If that's what you like, have fun. I don't care. And I don't think any less of people who actually like tellies. It's just me personally, I don't like it for this reason. And that doesn't mean anything about, how I feel about other people's opinion. I don't play like my opinion's, brilliant. I got some goofy. I'm so picky about bodies, and I kind of don't understand why, and it kind of bothers me sometimes. But I'm super picky about it, and that doesn't mean I think my opinion's gold. That's just how I feel.
I just can't stand. I just can't stand Strats. I'm not afraid to tell everybody. Everybody that knows me knows I hate them, so
Big route out of the front and a pick guard. I've just never been real. impressed with that. In some instances, that pick guard can, accentuate and look kind of cool, but for the most part, but most of my builds have been wood inspired, and you spent a lot of money on this, beautiful exotic thing for a top, and I don't want it covered with pick guard.
Yeah. Why do you want to cover it in mother of bog seat?
Yeah.
I mean, I grew up as a strap person. I loved them, but now someone that has to repair and do things to them, I do find it annoying having that big pick guard on it.
I mean, it's kind of a cool design that you can just pop that whole thing off and put a whole new one on, but
it's just boring. Anyway,
we can go on about this for ages. One thing I like, I'm just going to veer us towards the Great Guitar Build-Off. One thing I like about the Great Guitar Build-Off is people definitely seem to try interesting things out with it. Even if they're doing something that's more traditional, they always take a different stance on it, which I find interesting.
Yeah, absolutely.
Very
good. Well, that's what I was going to say. On that note, I'm going to have to love you and leave you now because I have got a customer due in a few minutes. So exciting. Well, money.
Well, what I'm going to say to everyone is I've put a link to Mark's YouTube in the description for this. I'll put some other links up. I'll dig them up and them, but look him up on Instagram, etc. Give him a follow. And thanks again, Mark. That was great.
No worries. It's been fun.
And thanks for the fiber optic suggestion.
Yeah. Like I said, I'm taking pictures and stuff. I'll write it up and whatnot, and I'll try and remember to send a link when it's done. You can have a look.
Thanks.
Okay,
cool. Right. Take care.
Catch you in a bit.
Have fun.
Great. So, there he's gone.
On the subject of creativity and Great Guitar Build-Off, first thing that I think of is Mark Gutierrez last year. It was kind of refreshing. I actually chuckled when I heard him say, this is not ergonomic. It's not comfortable, and I don't care. It looks cool. That level of honesty was I actually laughed, but
I haven't watched his final video that he just put up yesterday. I think it was of his new. I think it's a final video. It was labelled as if it was.
I haven't seen it either yet.
Yeah. Oh, maybe I just saw a photo of it on Instagram. No, I'm sure I saw a thumbnail. Anyway, he's going to come on in a couple of weeks' time to chat with us as well. It looks like it will be at a time when Arran can be here as well.
Yeah, I was slightly disappointed I wouldn't be involved, but I will.
No, well, you're going to be involved as well. No, Scott, you should be there as well. We're doing it at a time where Aaron's going to stay up late.
I got you.
So it'll be. I think it will probably be the same time we normally do it.
Okay.
Just got to check with Mark, but I think that's the plan.
Awesome.
Yeah. Aaron said that because that'll be a start of December, and then he's back. He's not working it as much like he is. So he doesn't mind doing a bit of a late night every now and then.
Yeah.
Great.
That'll be fun.
Yeah. Yeah, we have to. I think it will carry on into next year, but I wouldn't mind getting some more of the invitationals that have done some interesting things on as well. But what's been good is, and I'll say it's out to anyone watching and anyone live stream. There's been quite a few people that have said, like Mark that we just had, watched a couple of episodes, follow the Instagram page, or whatever. Have said they want to come on to join for a chat. So please, if anyone else wants to, let us know. It's always great to have a rotation of new people coming on all the time.
Yeah. It's been fun to meet some of these people that, you haven't really had a chance to talk to before, but seen their work and, it's kind of cool.
Yeah, it was weird because Mark had contacted us and said he wanted to be on it. And then I saw him at the show and he was like, oh, yeah, I'm looking forward to our chat. And I was like, I don't know what you're talking about because I didn't know his face. Didn't realise who he was until he then walked me over to his stand and I saw the name of the brand and the guitars.
Yeah, that'll be embarrassing.
So I think we should have a quick reflection on the Great Guitar Build-Off. Basically, what you've missed, Scott, on the Facebook group is Ben put a video up in which he mentioned various things going ahead with Crimson, and he mentioned the Great Guitar Build-Off. And I think people started talking about it in the Facebook group without actually watching the video, and everyone was panicking that there would never be a Great Guitar Build-Off again, and talking about how much it meant to them, which was, it's really nice to hear people talk about how much building has meant to them, how much being able to talk to other people and be part of a community has really helped them in different ways, and how they want to just keep building along with each other. So that was great. But actually, what Ben said in the video wasn't very specific, but it will be more like in the first year, where they will have some invites and people can build along, but it won't be a competition with a big unmanageable website.
Ben being Ben, it would be wise for him not to be specific, because it's going to change next week. But I mean, I guess now it's not a big deal that it's public knowledge that we had a call with them some time ago, and they had talked about the fact that they didn't feel like they could do GGBO, next year, at least in the form that it is. And we're looking for ideas and things, and we didn't have a whole lot to provide at the time. And of course, they never followed up. But so we kind of knew that. But I think now we still don't really know much more than we did back then of how it's going to go, going forward. And plenty of people have been talking online about, even if Crimson totally, bowed out of it completely, the community is actually there now, and something will continue.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Guitar Builders Collective seems like a great, starting point for that.
Yeah, so I would definitely recommend anyone that doesn't know what we're talking about. Here's a link. But yeah, the Guitar Builders Collective is on the forum. There's lots of areas you can talk about with different things to do with building. You can ask each other questions, share photos. And then Corey from Saul Goode runs the Instagram page, which is mainly sharing of people that are part of the collective, so you can see their work, know who they are, and go and follow their pages. And obviously we're doing this chat regularly. I feel like the community that built up because of the Great Guitar Build-Off existed because Crimson run the competition, but wasn't really managed by Crimson. It's just become a thing. So they don't have to be fully involved with doing a big competition to keep a community alive.
Crimson was a big hub for it. And the event, I really think the big key thing about the event was that it was an event, and there was a finish date. And so everybody was working at the same time, watching each other at the same time. And I think that was the key thing that just made this happen. The community. I mean, I don't know. I've had a lot of ideas throughout the years, but I don't know. I think a lot of people, I'm not even exactly sure how to articulate this correctly, but Ben has been, such an influence in most of our, building, because like when I started off like 8 years ago, there weren't many people on YouTube doing stuff, and Ben was it. I mean, and so I think a lot of people, he's kind of a rock star too. And, so you remember when the live stream was every week last year, it almost looked like people were just doing their best to try to get him to say their name on camera, because it was, oh my God, Ben said my name, I don't know if it will have quite as much excitement and allure without, that piece of it,
Yeah, I think that's a big part. But again, like it's a big part of it, but he doesn't really do anything with it at the moment. And even last year, it's definitely changed the last month or so that the Great Guitar Build-Off Instagram page is doing more sharing. But it's
Yeah.
not Ben that actually does that.
Yeah.
But yeah, and Crimson don't really mention it very much. I guess they will in December when they're doing the competition and things. But
Well, I mean, even like last year when he was doing the live stream, it seemed like he was really trying to avoid Great Guitar Build-Off questions, and he was just annoyed by the whole thing. In the last couple of years, they've had very little involvement, and you know, when he talks about, you know, they're bleeding money doing it, I can't help but think, how? And I don't know what it takes to run the thing, but it doesn't seem like they're doing that much. So I don't know.
I spoke to someone that did a course there last year, and he said that when he was doing the course, there were 2 or 3 people solely working on the Great Guitar Build-Off competition. I guess coordinating the invitationals is a reasonable amount of work, and they used to have to upload all the videos and photos and things like that. So it is quite heavy at that end, but I don't know. And one thing Ben said in his video is exactly what you said, Scott, that he really enjoys when he meets people and they say what an impact him and his videos have had on them. Yeah. And that's what is the thing that drives him. So he's not going to be making lots of videos of fret dressing and stuff, because you've seen that before. He wants to do things that allow him to be creative and interact with people, I guess. Yeah.
Something like the Great Guitar Build-Off, where you get to meet the entire community of people that, you know, think you hung the moon.
Yeah. I do want to get him on here sometime when he's a bit less busy. I don't know if that would ever happen.
That would be fun. But...
Yeah. I do want to mention here as well, and it's in the description for the video, the Jurg's Cup, because with the Great Guitar Build-Off coming to an end, I think a lot of people are going to be focusing on that, and that's hopefully a way to sort of extend the community a bit. I know there's a lot of people in the Great Guitar Build-Off page on Facebook that weren't aware of it. So I think once the competition's out of the way, I'm going to at least try and promote it a bit, just to give some people another way of sharing your builds and to talk about it. Because one thing that's great, Instagram's great, you see the pictures, but one thing that is good about Facebook is people can say, here's where I'm at with my progress since last week with my build, and people comment on it. Even if the comment is looking good or great progress or things like that, it definitely pushes it through.
Yeah.
Oh, I see Scott from Sweet Tea's just put a comment in about going to shows and how shows are overloaded. But yeah, Scott's on the Great Guitar Build-Up. Todd is on the the forum a lot and on the Facebook page a lot. And yeah, I know he's keen to drive more kind of not necessarily competitions, but builds where people can all build along together and have a focus. I think that focus is one thing that helps. If everyone's just building, it's great, but having something to share about instead of just like, I'm a member of a lot of Facebook pages and groups where people are builders and they will post up what they're building. But when you know you're all building it for the same purpose, even if what you're building is totally different, it does give you a little bit more thing to connect you.
Yeah. There's something about that time limit. It just brings everything together and focused.
Yeah, absolutely. So, look, while we're here, I've got 2 things to share. I'm going to put one of them in the live chat, and you can get a link from my YouTube page. But tomorrow, at the same time as this, we've got the next episode of Luthier's Lunch Break. It's going up, which I'm really proud of. So it's another little compilation show. I think tomorrow's one's about 35 minutes long. It's got a number of different builders in it, talking about different ways of finishing, different tools, ideas for designing and wiring and things about how pickups work. I'm hoping that with that show going out every couple of weeks with little clips in it, it will help inspire a few people to make and build and join a community and maybe provide stuff as well. So if anyone's watching this that is quite keen on making short YouTube videos and wants to share one with me, let me know. I'm putting a few in that people have already made. They've already made the videos. They've already got them up, just to have sort of bringing it together and helping to share what you're doing to other people. And also, I've put out in the made a little playlist for the Guitar Builders Collective chat, and in it, I'll just see if I can get the link for it. It's got the forthcoming episodes as well, so I'll put the link for that in the chat too.
Yeah, those have been pretty fun. So if you haven't been catching those, do.
Yeah, so like we've got, oh, they're not all up there. So we've got Jack from JC Guitar Company next week, and he's going to be talking about using CNC machines and how he uses CNC in his guitars. He also makes for other people. So guitarists or guitar builders will come to him and say, for example, I want quite an ornate fretboard. Can you do it for me? And he helps them develop the designs and then makes them. He also, what I thought sounded quite interesting, is he built his own CNC machine. So he said, as a result of building his own CNC machine and teaching himself how to use it, he's doing it slightly differently maybe to someone that's been trained on how to use a CNC.
Interesting.
Yeah, but I've already had some questions people asked about tolerances and how you set up CNC. So if anyone else has got anything they want to ask, let me know and we can ask him. So that's next week. The week after, we've got Gordon from Thazor Valkin Guitars. Now, I bumped into him, was also at that guitar show in London. And he told me Thazor Valkin, and I was like, I know that, but I didn't know why. And it's because I'd only ever seen it written down and never really pronounced it before. But he, I think his builds for the Great Guitar Build-Off are really interesting.
Yeah.
I'm quite keen to ask him about how he does his builds. They're very intricate. And then we've got potentially, I think I haven't told you this yet, Scott, but I was just speaking to Curtis from Goth Rider. Goth Rider Creations. Yeah. And he's probably going to join us the week after that. Then we've got Mark Gutierrez, and then basically we could at some point talk about a Great Guitar Build-Off, and that's the end of the year done.
Wow.
Fantastic. I love the fact so many people want to talk and share and be part of the community. It's brilliant.
Yeah, and I like having new people on every week.
Yeah, it's good.
So it's not us talking about the same shit over and over.
Yeah, and like I said, when we've got Mark on, it's a period where Arran's more able to stay up to be with us at our time because it's quite late with him. Excellent. Yeah. Yeah. Comment about the Jurgs Cup. Again, the link's in the description below. But yeah, the initial idea was to raise a bit of money to go to a good cause in memory of Jurgen, but you don't have to pay money to be part of it if you want to build along.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know where that came from, but there was some discussion recently where somebody had just discovered a little bit about it and thought, that was a requirement somehow, and I don't know where that came from. I think I have seen a couple online where somebody had done, printed pieces and pieced together a 3D printed guitar.
I think I mentioned one in that when we were talking about our favourite builders. That there's someone I've been following who's been developing one. It's quite small, but that you can buy the files for to print. Maybe I'll try and get them on and talk to them about a process.
See, if I need to teach myself how to 3D model. So I've thought all along, as soon as I got a 3D printer, I wanted to be able to model my guitars. And if I could do like a tiny print, like, I don't know, like a 3-inch long little print of so if somebody did commission a guitar, then they would get this as kind of a keychain with their guitar. That would be awesome.
Oh, yeah. So there are, I've not used them, but I've recently become aware of them. Apps you can get on your phone that allow you to 3D scan. So you could 3D scan your guitar and then do a printout of it. Oh, I love that idea.
I don't. I just assumed that was going to be problematic and haven't bothered trying it. But I should look into it. But looking at the possibility of someday eventually getting a CNC, gonna have to be able to model to, be able to print. I mean, to do stuff. So it's a skill I need anyway, with a precise, clean, model. So I just assume that trying to scan something would not be quite so clean and precise. But then again, I don't know. It's something I need to teach myself.
Yeah, I definitely got the answer.
Anywho.
Great. Thanks again, Scott. Thank you, everyone that's in the chat. And anyone that's watching in the future, let us know in the comments where you're from or who you are. We have about a regular, I think, 150 people watching these. Don't know who they are. Unless it's my mum watching it 150 times.
Well, it sounds like about the number of people that watch all of my videos. So,
oh yeah, that'd be a crossover. I hope. Don't forget, you can follow us, follow Arran. You can follow Mark, who we just had on. I'll put the links in the description. Keep saying that. It's all there.
Yeah.
Great. Okay. Let us know if you want anything for next time about CNC. But otherwise, thank you, everyone, and see you next week.
Thanks for showing up.